Happy October. Not only is it October, but it feels like we have fully stepped into fall. We are immersed in fall energy. And I don't know if you can hear it actually, it's pouring outside. We're having a little rainstorm today. It's been raining all day and it feels nice and cozy. It definitely is reinforcing this energy that fall ushered in, for me at least personally, this innate desire to go inwards, to Theo. Okay, if you're gonna be in here, you have to go to your bed. Good boy. No, you have to go to your bed. Good boy, thank you. Okay, stay. What were we saying? The second we stepped into fall, I felt this immediate energy shift within myself, this immediate desire to slow down, to tune out the external noise, to get more introspective, which is saying a lot because I'm already a very introspective person. I already am a very reflective person and very intentional and discerning with how I spend my time and energy, what media I take in, what content I take in. This felt like it took it even deeper. Also, this felt like not only being even more discerning and picky with what I surround myself with, but also less noise, less external stimulus, and more stillness and silence and depth within my own self. Theo, it's really not getting the hint. September felt like a celebration. It felt like an arrival. This is for me personally in my life and a theme that I noticed with clients I was working with and in conversations with friends and family and just people I was talking to. September, it felt like a lot was going on, a lot was happening, a lot was being revealed, but the beginning of September before we entered the fall equinox and the eclipse season, it felt like a celebration of life, of arriving somewhere and really embracing and celebrating where we are because of where we've been. And then we shifted into the eclipses and the equinox, and it felt like everyone was kind of like, whoa, what's going on? A lot's happening. A lot is shedding and being released. There's a lot that is being asked for me to let go of. Everyone was having a big perspective shift and life overhaul in some area of their life, whether it was just one specific area or life in general. And that is fall. I think it's extra emphasized and in our face this year, but fall is all about releasing, letting go, and shedding. And starting that process of slowly entering winter. In order to survive winter, we need to build our foundation to support ourselves. We need to use fall as that time to go inwards and reflect on what we need, who we are now, and what we need to let go of in order to move into the winter season. And I highly recommend going to listen to this week's podcast episode that just came out. It's our monthly reflection and intention setting episode. And that whole conversation is about all of this. But today, I wanted to expand on that and go a little bit deeper on one aspect, which is nourishment. The foundation to support ourselves is built off of nourishment. And we get to decide what that looks like in our life. And it will look different for every single person in every season. And it will look different in each category of your life. And so I want to do a little activity where we can hone in on what nourishment means and looks and feels like to each of us in the different categories of our lives. So grab your journal. I just got a new journal and I'm very excited about it. It's really beautiful. I'm especially excited about it because it's like 400 pages long. So this journal is going to see me through a full year. It feels like a really powerful time to start a new journal right now, not only because I just had my birthday, but also because the autumnal equinox in pagan tradition is known as the witch's new year. And in general, autumn just kind of holds that energy. And I'm feeling that for myself right now as I was explaining this energy of a new chapter completely starting. So much is falling away, so much is shifting, and it's all in order to step into this new, not even chapter, but this new book in the series of my life with clarity and confidence and grounding and only exactly what I need, nothing more and nothing less. So it feels very fitting to start this journal. I also have my little mini vision board and card that I made and wrote for myself on my birthday. Okay, the first step is to decide your categories of life or the categories that you want to focus on right now. So I think the categories I've decided on in this moment, and I think these are slightly different than the ones I shared on the podcast. And I'm just sharing that because it shows you that there is no right or wrong. Choose the categories that feel good for you in this moment. The ones that I landed on for right now are business, relationship, spirituality, mental, emotional, and physical. If you want, you can create columns and do it like that. I tend to like to do it more journal style. So I wrote nourishment at the top of the page and then each of my 6 categories. And now I'm going to go through one at a time and stream of consciousness journal about them all and talk about what nourishment feels and looks like for me right now in those areas and where I feel depleted in those areas, how I want to shift what nourishment means to me in those areas, and just write it all out, whatever comes to mind, and do that for each of the categories. And this is a reminder that it's allowed to be completely different than what it was in the past or what you think it should be or what you've been taught it should be. And you can also decide that you only want to focus on nourishing one aspect of your life. You get to decide. And if you're having trouble with this, I would highly recommend taking some time to do a meditation, breathwork practice before, maybe some stretches, just getting out of your head into your body. And maybe we'll even take a moment to do that together. So if you're able to, find yourself on your yoga mat, on the floor, in a comfortable seated position, and just close your eyes and start to move your body whatever way feels good for you. You can even be on your hands and knees in a cat-cow or standing up with your feet rooted on the earth, maybe moving your arms up and down. It's not thinking about it so much, knowing where in your body it feels good to stretch. I find the more that we can tune into our own body's sensations without any external cues and just notice what we need in this moment, the more connected we can get to our body, the more we can actually be in our bodies and understand our bodies. And it doesn't take much. I mean, we did that for like a minute maybe, and I already feel more relaxed. I already feel more present in my body. I already notice my body more in a way that feels safe and supported. Feel free to place a hand on your heart and notice how your chest rises and falls. Notice the beat of your heart under your hand. Noticing where your body is rooted on the earth, your hands on your heart, feeling your heart beating, your eyes closed or softly looking down at the ground. Again, a hand on our heart throughout the day. Just this simple, slow, gentle check-in can immediately shift our energy, shift our mindset, our perspective, and take us from the external to the internal. And that is what this fall shift is all about, really. It's going from the external output and action that summer brings us to the internal introspection and reflecting that autumn brings us. And I do try to do little stretches here and there throughout my day, especially when I'm transitioning from one activity to the next, or especially when I'm trying to start to ground myself or do a journaling practice or transition from my workday to the rest of my night or whatever it is, because it just slows us down and it shifts the energy in our bodies, in our nervous systems, in the room. It's really pouring. So after you've grounded yourself, you've brought yourself into your body, from this place, grab your journal and ask yourself, what does nourishment mean to me? What does nourishment look like to me? What does it feel like to me? It has been taught and ingrained in us that nourishment means eating a certain way and our bodies looking a certain way, or maybe even our blood tests coming back a certain way. But nourishment is not just about what we are eating or putting into our bodies. Of course, that's such a crucial part of it, and nourishing our bodies in a way that is truly aligned and authentic for us is crucial, foundational. And it is equally as important to understand what nourishment feels and looks like for us in the other categories of our life. What does nourishment look like for you in business, in your career, in your job? What does it look like for you in your relationships with family, with friends, with loved ones? What does that look like? What do you need to feel nourished in your relationships? And what leaves you feeling depleted? In this season of your life, what do you need in order to feel nourished? And we're just thinking present moment here, because of course this will shift and evolve and transform as you do. And we are always shifting and transforming and evolving. But this season of our life, this present moment, cycle and chapter of our life, what does it mean for you to be nourished? What does nourishment look like in your mental health, in your physical health? Give yourself permission to think outside the box and stay open and curious, because your journaling might surprise you. I know for me, especially when it comes to the spirituality bucket of my life, that has shifted a lot recently. And I am very connected to my spirituality. It's like the core component of my life and my business and who I am. And as I've shifted into this more introspective energy through autumn, that has brought in this newfound desire for even more depth and connection in my spiritual life. So my idea of nourishment now has shifted in that area of my life in a way that not necessarily surprised me, but was only available for me because I stayed open and curious. Something I was actually talking about recently with an upcoming podcast guest is the importance of spirituality as a pillar in our life. I was reflecting that it's taken us so long to get mental health seen as a main pillar in our health. Now it's much more normalized to talk about the importance of mental health and to prioritize nourishment when it comes to our mental health. But spirituality is just as much a part of our whole body well-being. So what does that mean for you? Do you feel nourished in your spiritual life? What does spirituality mean to you? I think it's really important to ask ourselves these questions. How often do you take the time to get on your yoga mat, to do some light stretches, to place a hand on your heart, to breathe, to just notice your breath, Notice how your body feels. Listen to the rain falling outside. Watch your dog fall asleep. Pull out your journal and just check in with yourself. How often do you give yourself the time and the space and the permission to do that? And yes, we all lead very busy lives, but it's about prioritizing that for yourself. So my invitation to you, my proposal for you, is to make that your ritual for the month of October. Checking in with yourself and your buckets of nourishment and how you are doing in each. After we do all our journaling and stream of consciousness and figure out what nourishment means and feels and looks like for us in these different categories, I want you to write down 1 to 3 action steps that you can take this month in each category to nourish yourself. Your nourishment check-in is going to be you journaling about how nourished or depleted you feel right now and what action steps you have taken that day or that week to nourish yourself. Holding yourself accountable, intentionally taking action to nourish yourself, that is how we make the shifts. That's how we make nourishment a priority. And again, this can be so simple. 5 minutes every morning, 5 minutes every Friday. Just a check-in. Our mantras for autumn and for this month of October are: I prioritize nourishment for my mind, body, and soul. I am grounded within myself. I am surrounded by abundance in every area of my life. I am protective of my energy and generous with my spirit. And our overarching intention for the month is: in October, I prioritize connection to my nourishment above all else. And all of these are shared on the podcast and also on the upcoming Substack blog post that will be coming out. It's helpful for you to see it written out. But I want you to take one of these or create your own based on what nourishment means to you and use it as your anchor point. Use it as your ritual opener or closer as you're doing this nourishment assessment check-in. I want you to write out your mantra every time you do that, or write out your intention, whichever feels good. Write it out at the top of the page, repeat it to yourself, repeat it out loud, share it with a friend, say it as much as you possibly can, and this will help you shift the energy and actually prioritize nourishment and tell your brain that this is what you're doing. You are prioritizing nourishment. A lot of us struggle to think that it's okay to prioritize nourishing ourselves, that's okay to make ourselves our priority, but that is our job. That is the most important thing. That is the only thing, especially in this season, especially right now, right in this moment. This practice will also really help you understand yourself and your needs and desires in general, and that will inform your life. That will inform how you move forward in your life and in this season. So I will share one little tidbit or action to give you some inspiration. My spirituality and mental health thoughts that I'm going to share here are the same. And it's probably the biggest overarching theme for me right now is just more silence. Spirituality-wise, that helps me connect deeper to my intuition, to my spirit guides, to really just to go deep within myself. And mentally, it clears out my brain and it gets rid of all the external projections and all the external impact and stimulus that I'm taking on that's trying to infiltrate my brain, all the external conditioning. Silence just helps me let it go and reconnect with myself. That's a little bit about what I uncovered throughout my nourishment practice, and I'll be checking in on this every single day as I journal, but I, of course, do this however feels good for you. If anything, I hope that this is a reminder that you deserve to take space for yourself to slow down. Just 5 minutes every day on the floor in silence, hand on your heart, even 1 minute. It's a game changer. I hope you will join me in nourishing ourselves together this fall. I know Theo will be along for the ride as well. He's already ready. He's an expert at nourishing himself. And I think it's so interesting that it's become hard to nourish ourselves in all the different ways. And it's become hard to decide what nourishment means for us individually and authentically, and to really tap into that and understand that and act on that. And so this is the season to reclaim that for ourselves.